A new loyalist organisation sprang up, Ulster Vanguard.
That it would be seen by the IRA and others as a first and major step on the road to a terrorist victory, and that it would leave the government of Northern Ireland bereft of any real influence and authority by removing the most fundamental power of any government.
With Faulkner's resignation, Edward Heath introduced direct rule. The Northern Ireland Parliament was suspended. Now the province would be ruled from Westminster. 50 years of unionist Protestant government was at an end. 3 days later, Protestants strike and demonstrate in Belfast. The Provisionals, it seemed to them, had bombed their parliament out of existence.
Shouldn't be allowed.
Why not?
Put the later the gunmen and the bombers.
Violence, and Heath gives into it.
We've kept quiet, we've done what we're told, and that's what we get.
So what do you think's going to happen now?
I'll give you it in 2 words. Take a look at all these names.
You'll
know what the civil disobedience is.
190,000 Protestants were involved in a protest strike against the introduction of direct rule. Stormont, so long Protestant security against a united Ireland, had fallen. But this massive demonstration clearly signalled that Protestants still had the will to defend traditional unionism. The Army's intervention in Northern Ireland had, without political progress, proved disastrous. Now London had full responsibility for the Northern Ireland question. The ghettos of Belfast. Here in Northern Ireland, most Protestants, 2/3 of the population, are determined not to be drawn into a united Ireland. Most Catholics, 1/3 of the population, resent being part of the United Kingdom. For a decade, the army has been engaged in a low-intensity war with the Provisional IRA, neither able to win decisive victory. Today, the Northern Ireland problem seems further from resolution than it was a decade ago. Now, after 12 years of what the Irish call the Troubles, the situation seems to be one of deadlock. Belfast, 27th of March, 1972. 190,000 people strike in Northern Ireland. The Protestants of Ulster were demonstrating against the introduction of direct rule by the British government. For 50 years, their parliament had protected them against the prospect of a united Ireland. With that now suspended, the British politicians had to be shown the depth of unionist resolve.
That is about to be imposed upon us has got to be ignored.
William Craig led Vanguard, a new, fiercely loyalist party now commanding great support. It was demanding the destruction of the IRA and was unyielding to Catholic nationalist aspirations. It had the support of the paramilitary Ulster Defence Association.
For the traitors they are.
This was an impressive and ominous display of Protestant resolve and unity. Protestants would defend their Ulster birthright, fight the Westminster betrayal. It was one thing to give loyalty to the Crown, another to trust the politicians in London. Craig was concerned about William Whitelaw, the new Northern Ireland Secretary, with dictatorial powers in the province. He was asked in his first press conference in the old Stormont buildings whether the loyalists of Vanguard might make the province ungovernable.
I hope very much that no one in the situation that we now are faced, the decision having been taken, would seek to do that. And I do not believe that when time has been passed from maturer councils that such a view will be taken.
The close connection between the paramilitary Ulster Defence Association and Vanguard was obvious at the recruiting centres. Tens of thousands of Protestants joined Vanguard, demanding a return to majority, that is, Protestant rule, an end to concessions to the Catholic minority, and the destruction of the IRA. Its resolve echoed 1912, when the call of no surrender marshalled Protestants against Home Rule, and the presence on the streets of the Ulster Defence Association, now numbering 50,000 men, recalled the threat of the Ulster Volunteer Force 60 years before. As they marched past the Catholic Unity Flats, they made their feelings clear. Such was the tension between the two communities that sectarian killings were now a feature of Belfast life. By the end of the year, 87 Catholics and 43 Protestants had been killed for no better reason than their religion. In the Catholic ghettos of Belfast and Derry, provisionals were policing their own areas. For nearly a year, parts of both cities were no-go areas into which neither police nor army were admitted. Provisional checkpoints were a common sight. Then in June, a truce was agreed between the British government and the provisionals. Secret talks involving Whitelaw took place in London. The talks were fruitless and the truce collapsed when fighting broke out on the Lenadoon estate in Belfast. The Northern Ireland Housing Executive had allocated houses abandoned by Protestants to Catholics. The UDA had objected, fearing Catholic encroachment into Protestant territory. When attempts had been made to move in a Catholic family, the army had intervened. The intention was to stop a confrontation between the provisionals and the UDA. Lorries loaded with Catholic furniture were put